Hey everybody, and Jow here again. I am doing some work on a map. Um, Getting ready to hopefully soon send out the first update to the backers of Empire of the Undying Sun. I also need this map for the for the modules. The first one being Fairy Hill. So this is South Bay. South Bay goes right here. Elder Mill, which is the location of our first thing, our first module. We've got right here, we've got we've got the farmhouse, which once you hit chapter 4, you're going to learn all about that. But a lot of fun stuff. I need to get this guy going. I had said the first update or the first thing that people would get for Empire of the Undying Sun should come out mid-November. I would like to still hold to that. I'm having a little problem with the website, which is where I will be sending the files from. I hope it's not going to be late, but just in case it is, I want some proof of life. I want people to know that I have been working on this project. I will continue to work on the project. No nonsense here. So if you happen to see this video and you want to ask questions, you want to chat, feel free. It looks like there's 4 of you here now somehow. All on X. Yeah, that makes sense. So some people might ask, well, why are you doing this the old-fashioned way with pencil, pen, ink, instead of using some sort of digital tools? Well, I just like the way it looks better. That's kind of as simple as it is. There's something to be said for the feel of hand-drawn maps that, there's a lot of very cool map makers out there. Um, Such as map effects. And if you're not a big map drawer, but you still want super cool maps for your own campaigns, for your own, just for your own table, I highly recommend check out Map Effects on Twitter. He's got a YouTube channel. I think it's the same name. He does maps, obviously, but he has also developed like a brush system, and I use it in Procreate. You don't need Procreate. I think it works in Photoshop. I think it works in what's the affinity one called? Designer. I mean, it works in almost everything. But you can go find those brushes, and you can make anything. Like if I were using those, this would be like super fast. In some of my other maps, I do use map effects for like a previs, sort of like I want this here, I want that there. So that when I finally get down to the pencil and ink stage, I'm not farting around trying to figure out, do I want this here? Do I want this there? How do I want, my trees to look? Like you can draw trees like that. You can see I did a little pencil there, but you can also, I've seen people, they're drawing like a gazillion trees like this for Greenwood the Great, which is fine. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but it's, how do you want your map to look? That is the question. For me, maps are kind of representative of the world, and you kind of want to give your world, your story, kind of a unique feel. My mountains are gigundous. Now, these mountains are supposed to be gigundous in the actual game, so that's why I have them on there like that. But if you look at like Tolkien's maps, they are not nearly as large, which is fine. Things should be a little bit different. It's nice because then when people come and they want to take a look at your stuff, then it's kind of easy to identify. Like, oh, that's this guy's map. So sometimes people ask, well, what do you do if you screw up? And I say, well, it's going into, some sort of image editing program before it goes to print. So I will just fix it up in there. It's been a little while since I've done any sort of a map or whatever draw on stream. I've had weird problems with my camera. Like StreamYard just does not want to recognize it. So I have to use this other program, OBS, and then take the video from that. It's quite strange. So anybody who's out there, what are your thoughts on what's going on with the 2024 version of D&D? Now, there are some things that I like about it. Not going to say it's all bad. But there are other things which I do not like about it. And I kind of feel like it's very incomplete. Like some things, like the rules on exhaustion, I think are quite nice and they work better. But what I don't like are a lot of the other stuff. Uh-oh. It's kind of how things work. Well, this seems to be quite the problem. Okay, is this working? I don't know. It's Luminix FaceTime. Oh, cripes, what is going on? Sorry, everyone. Having a little bit of problem here with the cameras. Give me just a second and let me see if I can get OBS working again. Okay. Got that working. Okay, I am back. Good evening, George. Evening, Fabrizio. Camera problems. It's one of those things where I'm trying to decide, do I want a new camera? Do I? And the answer is no, I do not want a new camera because new cameras are expensive. But I'm not quite sure what exactly I'm going to do with this one. I don't know exactly what the problem is. Part of it is there's like a wonky cable. I don't know if the cable came with it or what exactly it was, but it's like the only cable that seems to be able to transfer data from my camera to my computer. I don't know why that is, but the big problem is it's really fraying. And it makes me nervous that it's just going to go out on me. So a little in the weeds, but I use this program, at least for the moment, called StreamYard. And that, for some reason, is not able to detect my I've got a Lumix camera. I don't know why it can't detect it, but it doesn't. For some reason, OBS can find it just fine. I don't know if it's like StreamYard updated their software or what exactly happened. Another thing that really annoys me, I did not realize when we got the Lumix, it's good for streaming. It's like really nice because it's a micro four thirds camera. I can use various lenses with it. But the big problem is that it can only output to 720p as opposed to 1080. Oh, good question. How much of the map is created by the world you have in mind, and how much does the map add to the lore setting? Oh, that's a good question. So this map specifically is for the Empire of the Undying Sun game setting. So the map is definitely tailored to the setting. However, I find that once I have a map, even if it's just like a rough piece of garbage map, like I can all of a sudden visualize a lot more things happening in the world. And another thing, like, how far is A from B, that sort of thing. So like you need to know how long would a party travel. Are they gonna What's the over under on how much trouble they're going to find themselves in just traveling there? Um, are there a lot of other things around? So, like I had mentioned, this circle here, that's where the town of South Bay is. This guy right here is going to be where Elder Mill is. There's a lot of smaller villages around South Bay, as there would have been in a medieval setting like this. But you could see that they're relatively close. So what happens if like you can't have a lot of very rare occurrences or mythical beasts appearing in Eldermill while South Bay has not heard of it, because anything that shows up here is basically going to show up here. So in that sense, I mean, that will dictate where you go with some of the story. Hopefully that answered your question. Also, when you're talking about like tabletop role playing game, I'm not the only one making the lore. Uh, once this is out of my hands and other DMs get a hold of it and start playing, they're responsible for a lot of lore themselves. So um, maps kind of help them visualize the skeleton structure of the world that I built, and then it's up to them to take off with it, make it their own. And that's what I'm hoping a nice map will do. Just felt like something wasn't laying flat there. So, you guys playing anything this week? I am off from the test groups. That'll be next Thursday for me. I will be playing Gamma World on Friday, as usual. That should be an interesting session for anyone who watches that game on the Dungeon Delvers channel. 3 out of the 4 of our party got killed. So we all just said, screw it, new characters. So I don't know what exactly the Dungeon Delver has up his sleeve, but we are going to find out. So as for labeling this map, I think I'm going to pass on that. Um, I have half a mind to pull out the old Ames guide and do it by hand, but I think it'll just be easier and probably look better since my penmanship sucks if I just do it on the computer. Which, whenever I get to that, I'll probably try streaming that as well. Oh, Icewind Dale, nice. That's let's see. Let's see. So is that the 5e version or are you playing an older version? I have the book for Dale for 5e. And to be honest, it looked pretty fun overall. I have not played it, but one thing I really liked about it is that the cold is such a prominent part of the setting. To me, when you have environments that are kind of alive like that, it really makes a lot of difference. You've got a few other adventures that I can think of that do that, at least for 5e. That being Avernus. You have issues with where you can't taste food. So like all your meals are unsatisfactory. It's hot as blazes because you're in hell. Then Chult in what's that? Tomb of Annihilation. So Chult is kind of like a Africa-ish type of setting. So different areas you're fighting, like malaria, and you need to really take care to make sure you have water. The other thing that's nice about Icewind Dale is that you don't have quite the same issue with spells that can just get around everything. Like in Empire of the Undying Sun, there's a desert that you can go into. And you do have heat issues there as well. The only problem is, it's heat and food that you really need to keep an eye out for. But if you have like a druid, they could just pop out some good berries because it's such a low level spell. And, it kind of takes all the resource management out of it. I know that not everyone is super into resource management, but I personally think it's the fourth pillar of the game after combat, exploration, and role playing. Yeah, unfortunately for 5e, they've kind of mined a lot of the really great settings for it. We'll see how the 2024 version works with Greyhawk. Now, to me, Greyhawk itself is the one city that really kind of lives up to the name of city. Just in the sense that you can have like it's the one city that feels like it's a complete place. So well developed, so well used that you kind of sort of don't even need to exit out of the city. You just have a whole campaign right in there. Probably going to end up with a lot more of these drawing streams, especially with these maps. So if you enjoy it, why don't you give it a thumbs up? Let me know. If you don't enjoy it, then maybe I'll just skip it and do it offline. Like I said before, I just like to show people, who've actually backed it, that yes, progress is being made. So if you are a backer, expect a survey request soon from Kickstarter. I gotta be double checking those emails, making sure that they're the ones that you actually want stuff to come from, or come to rather. And hopefully I will have the download portion of the website working correctly before too long. And I can start getting these out. So another thing I like about doing hand-drawn maps is when there's a mistake, I can just claim, well, that's how a real map maker would have done it. They would have made a mistake and left it at that. So if you see small mistakes in line weight or random scribbles or things aren't quite parallel, well, there you go. I'm doing it for you. All the realism you could want. All right, so that is all of that. That's right, they did. Till that upstart new religion of Photoshop came about. And so are you using Affinity now, Fabrizio? I for some reason, instead of using InDesign for the book for Empire of the Undying Sun, I said now is a good time to switch and learn how to use Affinity Publisher. That may have been a mistake. So I am not 100% sure exactly what I'm gonna do with that. It's working pretty well, except for the tables. They're just really being weird. Like they're not liking me selecting certain ones of them. So normally working on a project, that would be completely fine. The problem is when you're working on like a D&D book, there's a crap ton of tables for everything. And you got to get those tables spot on. Think I got it working correctly now, but we shall see. I don't know if I'm liking these dashes for in the bay or not. I might get rid of those later. So if anybody cares, I was using this, there you go. There we go. Pentel brush pen earlier in order to ink the bigger stuff, the outlines of the land and the outlines of the mountains. For the smaller things, I started in with the microns. Just dabble in photo designer. Yeah, that's my problem. I really need to learn designer. Um, I'm still stuck in default Illustrator mode, and I don't know if that's where I want to be or not. So here we have the Lake of Despair and the River of Deceit. Which technically does not come into any interesting play during the official in the actual manual for Empire of the Undying Sun, but it is an area that is supposed to be super duper spooky, and if you enter into it, you will have to face certain challenges in order to make your way out. So, like I said, that's not in the official timeline of the story, but there is a lot of time in which a good DM can make all sorts of stories. What I mean by that is the game itself is sorry about that. Just had to grab an eraser here. So, Empire of the Undying Sun, it's built in a way that between main events, there's all sorts of time for you to do things like the end of chapter 1. There's like 2 months before the beginning of chapter 2. So, if you're a nice DM, you might plan your own adventures between then, which is also part of what the modules, the downloadable modules, are also for. Give you a little idea and a little help planning some things. Or you could just say, do what I did in my test scripts and say, oh, you got 2 months. What's your character doing for the next 2 months? So I just need to clean this guy up a little bit. As you can see, there are some spaces between these trees here on the edges, and I did not want that. But even with my readers on, it's kind of hard to tell. So just got to go back a little bit, and I'll make some happy little trees right there behind these trees. No one will be the wiser, except for you guys. But you won't tell anyone, now will you? Will you? I think I will also be adding the roads digitally. Again, it's a ease of use laziness thing. I don't know. I never liked the way I draw roads, so that will all be on the computer. Also, when it comes to inking and erasing, the less I erase, the more I'm going to have to do once I get it into the computer. I will probably use Photoshop for it. The border will be in Photoshop. I will probably end up drawing a compass on here somewhere, maybe down here. Yeah, probably down here, get a nice title graphic thing going up there. And then little text labels here. This is meant to be black and white. I will probably, it's actually probably not that far from finished with this part. I will probably later on I'll just add some labels just on the computer. And then also do some shading. So even though this is still meant to be black and white, it will be shaded. It'll look better, a little more 3D. And that will be before the color. So outside of South Bay, make a few more little trees here. These square areas are going to be little farms. Not quite sure I like the scale, but whatever. This little circle here, like I mentioned, is Elder Mill, which is going to be where the first module, Fairy Hill, takes place. So, excuse me. So George was asking before how much of the map is created by the world you have in mind, and how much does the map add to the setting and the lore? Uh, and like I was saying, some of it is easier to visualize once you get the map in. So one thing that I like a lot here is um, things like when a map is in different strategies. So if you notice down here, we have a lot of cliffs, and actually this whole area is fairly cliffy, with the exception of the bay itself. So that's where people got to attack, or that's where you have to enter into South Bay. Just give it a few more trees here and there. I'll just probably go like another 5-6 minutes. Get little patches of woods here and there. So another question: will this map ever change? Heck yeah. Um, so, for example, this area near where I'm inking right now. This is going to be Eldermill, like I mentioned, which is a location in the module Fairy Hill, written by Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver. So, why do I say it changed? Well, I added Eldermill, so the map feels more real. So probably as more modules get written, we're going to have some more fun. Doing these fields here reminds me of practicing Chinese or Japanese, whichever you prefer. The word mouth, kohl, or kuchi, depending on your language there, and sort of the stroke order. It's just a box or the start of the number 4. This is kind of giving me flashbacks to classes. Forgot one of these guys are right here. So if you are listening over on X, thank you for dropping by. And hey, why don't you consider going over to YouTube? I know it's YouTube, but it's easier to find these videos. Check out Yang Yanjiao 4, which is the same as my Twitter. And why don't you just sub to the channel? You'll get notifications when I'm going to do more of these. Hopefully, I'll have it a little better planned out. It's having some camera issues, which kind of mentioned at the start of this video. But we got things going now, and hopefully things are on the right path. So for anyone who has backed Empire: The Undying Sun, work is in progress. We're moving on things. Might be just a tad late as I'm having some website issues. But I think it'll be all right. Hopefully, once I get the website working to make it so that you can download your files, then, we'll be good going forward in the future. Probably it's going to be late November as opposed to originally I thought mid-November. Mea culpa. But I want to make sure that you guys have awesome stuff and can't compromise on quality. So thanks everyone for watching, and I think we're going to end it here at about an hour, and I will see you kids soon.